Tonight, Canada's most decorated female Olympian lands in hot water. Why swimming star Penny Oleksiak was suspended and for how long.
They take the rules of anti-doping very, very seriously.
How the ban impacts a future comeback to competition. Mourning the loss of beloved Canadian curling champion Colleen Jones.
She was that kind of person that was just magnetic. Whenever she was in the room, she would draw your attention.
Plus, a bitter battle over a big jackpot.
The maximum penalty is 14 years in jail. Pretty serious stuff.
Winner, Gagnon.
How a senior's lucrative Lotto win may have spiraled into a scheme.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Heather Butts.
Good evening. We are following two major developments involving two prominent female athletes in the Canadian sports world. The curling community is mourning the death of legendary skip Colleen Jones, who passed away this morning in Nova Scotia. But first, swimming sensation Penny Oleksiak, one of the nation's most decorated Olympians, has been suspended from competition for violating an anti-doping rule. CTV's John Venevali-Rao starts us off.
Penny Oleksiak, neck and neck.
A superstar in the pool, Penny Oleksiak is one of the country's most decorated female athletes, winning 7 Olympic medals. But her future in the sport now seems uncertain.
It's unfortunate, but it's reality. It's rules. They take the rules of anti-doping very, very seriously.
Oleksiak was not accused of doping, but rather failing to follow strict rules around athletes regularly reporting their whereabouts so they can potentially be tested. The International Testing Agency, or ITA, says 3 times she failed to provide that information. Earlier this year, Oleksiak accepted a voluntary suspension while the matter was investigated. The ITA says she didn't contest the rule violation and has accepted the consequences. A 2-year sanction, meaning she'll be banned from competition until July of 2027.
It's a very serious oversight, but it doesn't mean that she intentionally didn't want to be tested for doping.
In fact, back in July, in an Instagram post, Oleksiak wrote, "I want to emphasize that this whereabouts case does not involve any banned substance. It's about whether I updated my information correctly. I am, and always have been, a clean athlete." In a statement, Swimming Canada wrote, "While we accept Penny's explanation these were inadvertent errors and she has not used banned substances, anti-doping regulations are in place to ensure a level playing field for all athletes. We will miss Penny on the national team and hope to see her back in the pool when she is eligible." Oleksiak's suspension will end a year before the next Summer Olympics. But experts say not being able to compete until then will make a return more difficult. Heather.
CTV's John Venevali-Rao for us in Toronto. Thanks, John. To our other top story tonight, the loss of a curling legend and pioneering reporter Colleen Jones. A world champion with an effervescent personality, she was a fixture on the ice and in Canadian sport. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth on her life and legacy from Halifax.
Colleen Jones, a little redirect.
A 2-time world and 6-time Canadian women's curling champion, Colleen Jones dominated her sport in 5 separate decades.
She's going to get a break here for
1-2 for 3.
In a statement, the CEO of Curling Canada said Jones was driven to succeed, but it was her kindness and grace off the ice that stands out as her curling peers look back on her life.
She was that kind of person that was just magnetic. Whenever she was in the room, she would draw your attention. She made you feel welcome. She had that East Coast hospitality through and through. And I'll never forget my first Scotties where I felt like I was totally out of place and didn't belong. And instantaneously, Colleen Jones made me feel like I belonged.
Her son Luke announced Jones' death on social media, urging Canadians to think of your favorite Colleen Jones moment, cherish it, hurry, and love hard.
If there's a photo of greatest female curlers ever, she's got to be in the front row.
A Nova Scotia sports icon, curling fans in Halifax are mourning the loss following Jones' battle with cancer.
A big team player, and I got tears in my eyes when I found out she had died.
She wasn't afraid to be herself and to play the game with passion that she felt for it.
The Halifax native also enjoyed a broadcasting career that lasted more than 40 years, covering 11 Olympic Games for CBC.
She was affable and personable, balanced 3 major careers. You think about curling, familyhood, motherhood, and a broadcasting career that was of national renown. A remarkable woman who left a huge mark.
Her storied career was punctuated with the highest of honors. Colleen Jones was inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, the Canadian Curling Hall of Fame, and the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. She was also appointed to the Order of Canada. Colleen Jones was 65. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
The Prime Minister admitted today he used a poor choice of words when asked about when he last spoke to Donald Trump. Here's what he said on Sunday.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters.
He was criticized about the comments today in question period.
Before the election, he promised elbows up. After, it was, who cares?
I made a promise to Canadians. When I make a mistake, I'll admit it. That was a poor choice of words about a serious issue.
Mark Carney is considering a trip to Washington next week for a World Cup event. Sources tell CTV News that Ottawa will announce new measures to protect the steel industry tomorrow, but it's Thursday's highly anticipated announcement of a new energy deal with Alberta that has the country talking. Here's CTV's Mike Couture.
We fought successfully, I might add, so many pipeline battles in British Columbia.
A stern warning from the president of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. His group is firmly behind coastal First Nations in opposing a pipeline in that region.
At the end of the day, if things go sideways, then we're out on the ground. We're, at the designated sites.
Grand Chief Stuart Phillip wouldn't say if that could include rail and road blockades like those that sprung up in 2020 in support of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs who were protesting another energy project.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre wants to know when the signing of a memorandum of understanding with Alberta will lead to shovels in the ground.
On what date will construction begin on a pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific?
Prime Minister Mark Carney said that's not the point of the agreement.
The memorandum of understanding that we're negotiating with Alberta creates necessary conditions, but not sufficient conditions, because we believe in cooperative federalism. We believe the government of British Columbia has to agree. We believe that First Nations right holders in this country have to agree and support.
But does that mean First Nations will have a veto over the pipeline? Not according to the former Minister of Natural Resources and current BC Liberal MP.
Well, I think the Supreme Court was pretty clear on Trans Mountain that there's no effective veto on the part of any particular First Nation.
Same goes for the provinces, even as Prime Minister Carney promises collaboration with BC. Minister of Natural Resources Tim Hodgson says that the ultimate jurisdiction for interprovincial pipelines rests with the federal government. Heather?
Michael Couture, thank you. Ottawa is making it easier for people to apply for Canadian citizenship, and that's resulted in an uptick in American applications. CTV's Heather Wright explains.
Shani Muldoon has always felt Canadian, despite not actually having Canadian citizenship.
I have always felt this affinity for Canada.
Her grandfather was born in British Columbia, but her father never got his citizenship, and so she never qualified to get hers until now.
When this new bill was proposed, I already had all my documents ready.
The new bill is the so-called Lost Canadians legislation, which passed the House of Commons last week. It means citizenship can be passed down to people born or adopted abroad beyond the first generation. It comes after a 2009 law limiting how citizenship was passed down was deemed unconstitutional by Ontario's Superior Court.
Given the current state of the United States administration, I think it's important to kind of have that in the back pocket.
Caitlin Murphy is a midwife in upstate New York whose maternal great-grandparents were Canadian. She received her Canadian citizenship earlier this year under interim changes made while the legislation was working its way through Parliament, and plans to move to Canada in the next 2 years.
Over the past however many years, it's just kind of been reaffirmed to me, like this is not the place that is supportive of our beliefs.
Immigration consultants have seen a surge in interest in Canadian citizenship, but caution, it's not a rubber stamp.
It's not sort of a free-for-all type of an application, but I think it's still worth attempting for many people who see that they have either parent, grandparent, great-grandparent who may have been born in Canada.
Experts say given the interest in Canadian citizenship, lengthy waits are to be expected while all of these applications are processed. Heather.
CTV's Heather Wright in Toronto. Thank you. A renowned American beer brewing school is bottling up and relocating to Montreal. It points to changes in the United States for the move to Canada. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin on what this means for the city.
This nondescript Montreal address, just a few blocks from the original site of Molson, the oldest brewery in North America, is soon to be home to a prestigious beer brewing school. Since 1872, the famed Siebel Institute has taught the fine art and science of brewing to generations in Chicago. But it has announced it will soon be last call in the U.S. Siebel issued a statement pointing to changes under the Trump administration. Recent regulatory changes in the U.S. have made it much more challenging for many of our international students who have become the majority of our student body to attend classes in person. To many in the brewery scene in the U.S., the loss of Siebel, woven into the history of Chicago, is heartbreaking.
But it truly is just a Chicago institution. And, you know, if you talk to brewers of the modern era, not just in Chicago, but across the nation, it really is the place where people go and learn the trade.
So that's where we actually brew the beer here?
Quatre Origines has been brewing craft beer in Quebec since 2018. On tap from Montreal now, says the president, Michael Dornelas, is a university of beer.
Siebel Institute coming to Canada is big news. Essentially, they offer a wide range of education options specifically for this industry.
A prominent addition to Quebec's already vibrant scene as knowledge and workers will spill over.
I really think it's going to focus a lot of attention onto Montreal as a destination for beer, which the U.S. that's where all the focus is for craft beer. Like, we learned from them.
And the move is expected to come into effect as of this January. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
A young person in Toronto has been arrested and charged in a terrorism case as a result of a cross-border police investigation. The RCMP says the charges include participating in the activities of a terrorist group by editing and posting ISIS propaganda videos and soliciting firearms for the purpose of carrying out a terrorist activity. The alleged suspect can't be identified because of their age. A Toronto senior is facing charges tonight, accused of claiming a $1 million lottery jackpot for himself when it should have been split with a group. CTV's Adrian Gabriel on the investigation into this case of Lotto fraud.
The sweet sound of one Lotto win may have turned into a $1 million scheme.
Winner, Gagnon.
A joint investigation by the Ontario Provincial Police and the province's Lottery and Gaming Corporation have led to charges that allege that this man, 70-year-old Alex Perucha from Toronto, falsely claimed a $1 million Lotto win as his own when he should have split the winnings with two others. In a news release touting the $1 million payday this summer, Perucha is quoted as saying, "I won a free play, so I went to the store to claim it." The next day he reviewed his numbers and says, "I double-checked my ticket and counted the zeros. When I realized it was a $1 million prize, I was overwhelmed." The winning Lotto Max free ticket with Encore was purchased here at this Toronto convenience store.
Seeing the first $1 million win in my store, I was really happy. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of news reporters like yourself came in and told me about this news, and I was just shocked.
The OLG paid out the prize in July after Perucha answered a series of standard questions.
You're asked specifically, are you a member of a group? And if you say, no, I'm not, and then you sign that form, that's a false statement because it's a sworn statement.
The senior citizen has been charged with theft over $5,000 and fraud over $5,000.
The maximum penalty is 14 years in jail.
We called Mr. Perucha.
You have reached the voicemail box
he was unavailable. An email from the 70-year-old's lawyer in part states that Mr. Perucha categorically denies all allegations and charges related to the lottery ticket and maintains he has done nothing wrong. Though if he's found guilty, his share of the winnings could go up in smoke.
There may be a question about whether he's entitled to any of the money.
If you're purchasing group lotto tickets with friends or family, there are group forms you can use. Mr. Perucha will plead his case in court on January 8th. Heather.
Adrian, thank you. Coming up.
There appears to be something very wrong.
How a promising new medical treatment came under attack. A Canadian research company has a promising drug that could offer a new treatment for multiple sclerosis, a disease that affects almost 90,000 people in this country. But the drug faced huge barriers getting to patients, not in the science, but on the stock market. W5's John Woodward looks into the case of alleged stock manipulation.
Ahoy, shipmates!
Alexander Barr created this adventure cartoon. He's an award-winning animator.
When I was a kid growing up and watching cartoons, it was really my happy place.
Barr works mostly from his desk in Burlington, Ontario. He's less mobile than he used to be thanks to a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis.
It sounds like it's a significant impact on your life.
Oh yeah, it has a huge impact. Day by day, I have to be very resilient to push through the pain of doing simple chores that everyone else takes for granted.
The disease attacks his nerves, so his muscles don't properly help his blood return from his legs. Barr uses this device to combat some MS symptoms.
It basically inflates my feet, my calves, my thighs, and then it'll just keep going. So basically, it's kind of replicating circulation.
MS is a progressive disease. There is no cure.
Hope makes you positive. You know, it's the hope that you're ultimately, there will be a solution.
And one day, hope came in the form of this video.
Characterized by flaccid tail and completely paralyzed hind limbs.
That's a mouse whose nerves had been artificially damaged, just like with MS. Then, after 42 days of treatment, the mouse regained the use of its limbs.
After a couple more days, the mouse appears to recover completely.
The drug it took was called Lucid MS from a company called Quantum Biopharma, based in Toronto.
Watching that video must have been an inspiration.
It was incredible.
That mouse video got a lot of people's attention, including investors like Atul Dadwal.
How much money did you invest in total?
A few $100,000.
$300,000, a lot for the owner of a Toronto restaurant franchise. But as Lucid MS moved through the stages of clinical trials, the opposite happened. According to Quantum's documents, in June 2020, as favorable test results came in for another drug in its portfolio, its stock price dropped from $7.39 to $2.76. As it received regulatory clearance to proceed with clinical trials of Lucid MS, its stock dropped from $1.84 to $1.56. The crash continued, and soon Dadwal says he lost 98% of his investment.
It just kills you. There's no way. It buries you 98% down in the earth. So it cannot come back and see the light of day ever again.
Did it have other impacts in your life?
Of course. I mean, you lose your health. Your health is not the same anymore.
Did that make sense to you, knowing that they are looking at a very promising technology, but the shares are somehow dropping?
There appears to be something very wrong.
Alex Barr had believed in the product so much he joined the company's board. He said the low share price sent the company into a tailspin.
And as a result of that, it means that it's much harder to raise money. And if they can't raise money, they can't do the trials to prove that the research works for people like me. And that drug will never become accessible to people who need it.
A situation Quantum Biopharma couldn't accept. They believed there was another reason their stocks were collapsing and started their own investigation, an investigation that would spark a nearly $750 million lawsuit.
Tomorrow, we get an inside look at the investigation that may have found market manipulation on a massive scale. Still ahead, the latest America First policy. what Canadians will have to pay to play in U.S. parks. Four more arrests have been made in connection to the stunning Louvre robbery last month. 2 men and 2 women are in custody, although the Paris prosecutor did not reveal what role they played in the robbery. On October 19th, 4 thieves made off with French crown jewels worth over $100 million in a brazen daylight heist. So far, there is still no trace of the stolen jewels. And the price of visiting a U.S. national park is going up for anyone who isn't American. The Trump administration says the America First policy will help support maintenance of the sites. Starting in 2026, non-U.S. residents will pay an extra $100 per person on top of the standard entrance fee. An annual pass for all the parks will more than triple from $80 to $250. Still ahead, 2's a party, 3 might be a crowd. The cold plunge off the coast of BC that has people talking. Jumping into the ocean off Canada's west coast at the end of November takes a lot of courage. But the frigid dip quickly became the last thing on the minds of 2 swimmers when they discovered they had company. Here's CTV's Andrew Johnson.
A sunrise cold plunge for 2 pals took a dramatic turn when a sea lion shot out of the water to take a closer look.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
And with that, this swim was cut short.
Okay, okay.
The 2 men scrambling out of the ocean off Victoria are Ennio Titarenko and Andrew Wierzbicki. For Wierzbicki, a prairie boy, the water is an acquired taste and a personal test.
I, myself, not so comfortable in the ocean. That's also another reason why I go in the ocean. It's the most powerful force on Earth.
That's why when a sea lion appeared a few meters away, Andrew reacted like this.
He's way too close.
Dude, it's okay.
It is not okay.
Ennio, the more confident of the pair, is a former commercial diver.
I wasn't really fazed. I've spent a ton of time around sea lions. I've scratched their belly before like puppies.
He did not anticipate this.
I was like, okay, it's very clear he wants us to leave, so we're just gonna leave.
I was scared, honestly. Like, he's a big animal, and I'm in his environment. I ain't fighting a sea lion. There's no way that that's gonna happen.
Leaving was the right move, according to one expert, but slowly.
Best thing anybody can do, whether it's with a sea lion or a grizzly bear, is to slowly back away from the situation. And don't falsely assume that it's all going to be fine.
He says the sea lion was probably as scared as the 2 swimmers and offers one more piece of advice.
Trust your gut instincts before you trust your best friend.
I'll never listen to you on that shit again.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
That is our newscast. Omar is back tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. I'm Heather Butts. Good night.